Hi, this is Yosa, and I'll show you how to make a covered button grape out of velvet. Velvet is the thickest of the common fabrics. It can be even thicker than upholstery fabric. So the back of the covered button, especially on these small ones, it just won't go on. With a hammer, with a mallet, you could, unless you have a professional setting machine, you just can't get the back on a velvet button. So here's what I do instead. For this project, I'm using velvet buttons to make bunches of grapes for a historic gown, but I will talk about how to make these usable as well. So the first thing I do is I cut out my piece of velvet with a guide, and then I do a running, just up and down stitch around the outside and put the button blank in the center and pull. And what that does is it secures the velvet in the middle. And it's a little tricky, but let's see if I can get it. Doing this makes the velvet stay on the inside. And as you can see, the velvet on the inside, you can press it in with your thumb, but it's actually going to be much thicker than the velvet on the top, which now looks really nice. As an additional security layer, while the needle is still on, I do a couple of cross stitches across the center of the button. I've seen people also use glue and Mod Podge and other techniques for this. I do it by gathering around the outside and then sewing across the middle. You can see there, that's only 3 stitches. Not bad. I then tie a knot. And my favorite time-saving technique of all time is when I tie a knot before cutting the thread, I tie a second knot. And if you can see, this is about a 1/4 inch away from the first one. There we go, little bitty knot. I then cut in between the 2 knots, and that leaves a beautifully knotted thread ready to go for the next button. Now, if you're going to use these as a functional button on a jacket or costume, then you can glue the back of the button in place. I would use a very strong glue for that, and kind of cross my fingers. For these, I will be sewing them directly onto lace to make lace bunches of grapes. And that's how to sew a black velvet covered button. This is Yosa, and thanks.